Hey, bragging rights, it's time to get down with the breakdown. This is Jeff, aka Machamp Bailey, and this is the Bragging Rights Breakdown. All right, first off, let's welcome all the newcomers to the league. Delaney and Krista have joined forces to create the Fisters. Connor is owner of Holder Like a Six Pack, and Jason Deal joins us in the form of Stu Pedasso. Great name, by the way. Also, Rob has joined the league as a full-time owner after taking over Glenn's team last year. Welcome, bragging rights, everybody. All right, for all you newbies, as well as anybody who didn't watch last year, this is the bragging rights breakdown. This video will be a good chunk longer than it's normal, but I will typically go over all the big upsets of each week, hand out some awards, and some predictions for the next week, as well as cover the predictions from last week. If you'd like to make some predictions as well, you can text me by Tuesday night so I can get it into my video by Wednesdays. All right. So to recap last year, our league champ is Mike Foley and Project Badass, who swept the playoffs and ended with tied best record with somebody else on this list here. So give me 1 second. At 9-4. Ball on a Budget came in second with Fire Breathing Rubber Duckies trailing in third. Teenage Mutant Ninja Bortles with the most points by a landslide, and he was the other one that was at 9-4. Both our bottom teams return, however, being both of the Chris's, which is kind of fun. The Underdogs, now a team has no name, came in 9th with Balls Deep, rounding out the 10th spot. All right, this week I want to cover the draft. Well, kind of the draft. I want to cover everybody's current teams when I ran them. I think it was yesterday morning or the day before. So a little bit changes to the draft. I know some people like Foley had already made several moves. So this won't be a perfect draft analysis, but it definitely is analyzing the current teams. All right. So if you are more active, your odds could be greater than the percentages that I'm going to use because the draft analyzer I used gave me a range from very, very involved in the in-season management all the way down to, just like kind of mediocre average. I'm using that average just because that's probably the best baseline to go by. Also, a lot of those top rank ones were the same just because obviously if you're very involved, there's a good chance you can make it to the playoffs, all right? So that being said, I've dropped everybody's teams into an analyzer. It's called the Football Guys. I will put the links in the description below as well as in a league manager note if you want to check out the full analysis, all right? At the bottom of this list for the draft rank comes Holder Like a Six Pack. To put it bluntly, the analyzer just really hates his team, only giving a 2% chance of making the playoffs. Again, this is if you just do basic, average, low-tier management. If you're more active, you're going to do a lot better. The only positions they were okay with were defense and tight end, saying that there's a severe turnover is needed with all the other positions. That being said, if you work the waiver wire, get some good matchups, this could break the analysis pretty heavily. Next up, with a 17% chance to make the playoffs, comes Bala on a Budget. I wouldn't count Brian out, though, since he did play second last year, but his team is weak at the running back and receiver positions, according to the analyzer. We don't need to mention the great quarterback pickup of Cam Newton. I guess I just did, though, so maybe we do. And analysts like Goskowski as kicker for whatever that's worth. Keys to success here are the defense needs to rotate consistently, find some good matchups, as well as keep an eye for standout players early in other positions and try and get some of those players that break out like Gurley did last year. The reigning champ comes in at 10th with the 21% chance to make playoffs. Foley's team is about average with strength in the receiver position. Both starters in the top 10 picks, again, like the kicker, but the homer pick of the Eagles defense may not do any favors, and they really suggest rotating that or picking up a second defense to rotate and give key matchups. And look out for a good breakout quarterback or running back like Blake Bortles last year. The highest score last season comes in at number 9, 39% chance. They love the tight end and running back. but noting a weakness at depth at the quarterback really hurts you on the analyzer, and strength at wideout. Your key is to hope for no injuries and find that breakout receiver. Again, they just get scared with the lack of depth at quarterback. Now, I want to pause here and note that 3 of the 4 of the top last people last year are in this bottom 4. So that being said, keep in mind, these are just opinions from an analyzer, from analysts. There's no statistics truly to back any of this up because this is all using last year's stats and preseason stats, which I think we all know are kind of gibberish. So until we actually get going into the season, these are just very as good as we can do on predictions, all right? So that being said, number 8 is Stupidazo. I love saying that, by the way. It's just so funny. All right. While they say you're below average at all key positions, they don't hate it for some reason. Some feeding. So if you get some fresh players throughout the year, keep feeding those positions. They give you a 40% chance of making the playoffs. They particularly like Stafford and the Cardinals' defense. No shocker there. Key is to keep those positions filled and keep an eye on who's producing for your team. Your start and sit is really going to be your make or break for the season, according to the analysts. Number 7 is where balls deep ranks. Your strong quarterback and receiver positions gave you a 46% chance to make it, but your weakness at running back is among the hardest to mask. They're okay with weaker in the receiver position because it is easier to mask because they are so hit and miss. Running back, however, is one of those harder ones to mask. Hopefully you can find somebody throughout the year, or hopefully the running backs that you have end up being real breakout. But this is just a tough one. Top picks for you are Julio, Vincent Jackson, and Dan Bailey for what it's worth. Your key is to try and find some backs that come out big for you and rotate that defense. You'll see that a lot on this list. They recommend rotating a lot of the defenses if they're not top 5. Just try to get those favorable matchups because defenses, more often than not, will hurt you than help. All right. Although they rarely endorse teams that are weak at both back positions, being quarterback and running back, they love the receiving core, including tight end, and this is for, despite auto-drafting, Beats by Ray. Makes the number 6 spot with a 55% chance to make the playoffs. If you're going to keep an eye on the QB and running back position, you're going to do fine. Like many on this list, rotating that defense to get favorable matchups will help. Cowboys make it into the top half of the lineup at number 5 with a 67% chance. They love all 3 core positions. Said it was very old school and they love it. But not having a backup quarterback scares them away from ranking higher. Again, as you saw Tom Brady in 2008 or with Tony Romo last year, even quarterbacks with great health records can go down. So making sure you have somebody that's a little higher on the tier as a backup quarterback does help rather than waiting for your quarterback to go down. Outside of this, I think you can improve at tight end and rotate your defense for some good stats. Also, watch your bye weeks in weeks 9 and 10, seeing as over half of your players go on bye in those 2 weeks. One of them being 5 players, one of them being 4. So that's going to be some rough weeks for you. Maybe look when you're filling spots to cover that weakness. Overall, good team, though. The Young Bloods come in at number 4, and that's the Fisters. Snag a 68% chance to make the playoffs in their first season in the league. That would be pretty awesome. The analyst is remarkably similar to Luke's, with the big fear being lack of depth at quarterback position. They obviously love the first-round pick of Antonio Brown, but the edge they're really getting over the Cowboys, when I looked deeper into the analysis, is that the defense. They have a good, solid defense. They're not going to need to rotate as much. Luke, again, that's easy to cover if you have that rotating defense. However, their strong pick at defense gives them a little bit of advantage on the analyzer. Pick up a spare quarterback and watch your running back situation, Fisters, and you should be golden. Kicking off the top 3 comes fire-breathing rubber duckies, the commissioner. At 74%, it's hard to argue his running back core is strong with Gurley and Bell kicking off his lineup. Extremely old school, real good for fantasy, obviously. However, the experts would prefer you keep an eye on the quarterback position and scour the waiver for some breakout wideouts. That's fun to say, breakout wideouts anyway. They do, however, love your matchup symmetry of your quarterbacks, even though they're not both ranked terribly high. I know one's around 7, one's around 12. But the symmetry that they have in offsetting each other switching them out just like the defense, and they do recommend that with you as well, is just look for those favorable matchups and you should be fine. But they really love that symmetry you got with the quarterbacks and give you extremely ideal matchups throughout the season. I do want to remind everybody that I did not create this analysis myself, so I'm going to take the number 2 spot according to the analyzer, not according to myself or anybody else's opinions. However, gave me an 82% chance of making the playoffs. Love my quarterback and running back positions with two of the top 10 running backs. My weakness really comes at the receiver position, and we saw this during the draft. A lot of receivers were going, which made it hard for some people like myself, Luke, and Mike to pick some up because we went running back first. That being said, since the wide receiver position flexes widely week to week, it's pretty easy to cover, and it's a survivable weakness, assuming I'm paying attention. The only other area of concern is at tight end, but again, not a major scare. Tight ends, most of us know, unless you got Gronk, it's a crapshoot. All right, finally, number 1. If you haven't caught on yet, you should know who this is, but this did surprise me because he was 9th last year, and it was his rookie year last year, but he's obviously done a lot of research this year and made some solid picks. A team has no name. Chris Folks comes in at number 1 with an 84% chance of making the playoffs. Great job here, Chris. They think you found the rare balance of all the 3 key positions: running back, quarterback, wideout. It's something that they rarely. I've used this analyzer for several years now, and I've never seen them really say good job on getting a balance. You got above average players in all 3 key positions. The only weaknesses they really perceive is the threat of injuries, because that can kill any team. That's just how it goes. And a below average kicker, I disagree because that's, my kicker. But again, kickers are whatever. They're not the biggest factor of the team, especially if you have those 3 core positions covered. And rotate that defense like a lot of people on this list, you'll be fine. They suggest evaluating your quarterback weekly since they are not anything special, actually lower than, Mike's. But they do think they have an amazing symmetry as well, so you do have some good matchup symmetry. All that being said, anything can happen in fantasy. For those of us who played, you know this. For those of you who knew, honestly, it's about 50% luck at this point. You still got a lot of skill involved, but any given week, anybody can blow up. And until we actually get started, this is all speculation, all right? If you want the full analysis and recommendations that the football guys gave, I will, again, be putting the links in the description below, right down here, all right? As well as on the League Manager note, I would point, but obviously this doesn't show up on the League Manager thing, all right? Look for the breakdown every Wednesday. I know this one's coming on Friday. Again, that's just because, A, it's been a rough week, and B, there's no real timetable on this one. But I will be bringing them out on Wednesdays before the Thursday games. So I'm going off of whatever lineups are set on Wednesdays, and you'll see me. I will also be going over the predictions next week for week 1, as well as introducing the awards. Obviously, there's not going to be any awards to give out because nothing's happened yet, but you will be introduced to them for those of you who are new. My number will be in the description below, as well as on League Manager note as well. So if you'd like to send me your predictions, please do so. Make sure you do that by Tuesday night. Otherwise, I'm not going to get it on the video. I'll recap it on the following week if you send it after that, but it's just not going to be in these videos because I do need to have the proper time set up. All right, I hope you enjoyed your first breakdown of the season. I'm glad to be back. I plan on having other players drop by this year. In fact, I do have a special guest next week, so do pay attention for next Wednesday. And I will be conducting official league surveys through here as well. Obviously, you'll see them posted in the league poll as well. However, I will typically pose the question in here for a little bit of discussion. Finally, until next week, keep working on those rosters, and I'll catch you downfield.